Hi, I'm Mike. Welcome back to the Healing Hut. I'm going to fill you in where things have been since I filmed last, and then we'll get started on this episode. The mountain is beautiful today. The thing that's been challenging lately, most of all, has been weather. It's been cooler, colder, pouring down rain. The rain's supposed to end today, and then it's going to get colder. At one time, they thought it would get down to like 13 or 14 degrees, which is cold for here. And I do have a water pipe inside the cottage that I'm protecting, and I may have to put some heat on it tonight to keep it from freezing. But last time I was working on my beams, my chainsaw had stopped working, and I had ordered an electric chainsaw that finally came, and it was okay for small cuts, but it was underpowered. But I went back to my gasoline-powered chainsaw, and it ran like a top. I think it was just flooded while it wouldn't run days before. So I got all my beams cut out. I only have one up here now, my lintel, the one that goes above the door, and this oak beam. The other two are that go on the sides that you see here. I'm going to replace these, are in the house because I got them cut out and I put finish on them. And as I said, the weather was getting colder, and one of them, as the finish set up, the weather had dropped down into the 40s. And I came back to look at terror the next day because the beam had turned white. The finish had absorbed moisture when it can happen in cold conditions. So I had to spend a good day grinding off all that finish. I carried the beams down to my basement and finished cutting them out and putting finish on them again. But that was a setback, but that's the way things go. And what you're going to see now today, I just returned from down near Seattle with my last load of sandstone rocks that's going to go on cladding on the outside of the cottage. And I think I'm going to have enough with all this. And then what you can't see up through the weeds, there's a bunch of rocks. And I'll have enough to clad this whole thing when I'm done. And I'm excited about that. So I'm going to do some time-lapse things. What you should see, and there's always exceptions because things don't go so well. Today I'll probably just unload the truck, and I hope to carry my beams up from the house and get them staged here for tomorrow morning. My door here, I'm going to clean off, get all these tools off, and get it all vacuumed off, and get ready for tomorrow. I hope you will see me tear out these old beams. Now I'm a little bit nervous because this wall has a lot of weight. And if you can see, I added a beam here to support the weight because I'm going to take this framing out. Now this framing, according to the engineers, isn't necessary because I have a header, but there's so much weight on this door frame, I'm a little bit nervous taking those out. So I will use a jack to raise my new lintel, and then you'll see me using that jack, and I'm going to leave the jack in place to help support this area until I get these side beams in. You know, the side beams, they're not structural, but they're solid oak. They're, 4 or 5 inches thick, 9 inches wide. So it will add a lot of security to me. And then I've cut the beams close, but they're not exact. So I'm going to be fine tuning them when I get them up. The side beams are a little bit long on purpose, so I can get it measured and cut just right, I hope. And then my door, I'm going to have to do some work on it to get it to fit. Now, so it's really interesting and exciting. I'm going to be wetting a 150-year-old door with 150-year-old beams, and both of them are fairly rough. So it's going to take some planing and some other things to get to fit, and I hope it fits. And it'll be on time-lapse, so hopefully time-lapse won't pick up any swear words if it doesn't fit. But that's the way it goes. So thanks for joining me. I'll do another little talk at the end of this. This week I got delayed also because Monday, I want to bring in some things about my cancer to make it relevant to people who are dealing with those issues. But Monday I had a virtual appointment with my myeloma specialist in the morning, and then I had to go over to the mainland and get labs drawn, which turned out to be an ordeal, 4 sticks, and finally got blood. And then I met with my local oncologist, and then I had an infusion, so it took the whole day for all that. But then that was the day before yesterday. Then yesterday I was sick as a dog all day, and I don't know. I don't think it was the infusion daratumumab, which has been my miracle drug. It's kept me in remission for 2 years, and I usually don't have any reaction to that. But man, was I sick! So if today I feel fine, boy, the mountain is just beautiful with the mist rolling over the top of it. Just beautiful. But I've had 2 good years with remission, and I'm really thankful about that. You know, it's hard for me to even think about my cancer right now. I have some friends who are up to their eyeballs in cancer, and I can relate to that. When, you know, people who have never gone through anything like this don't understand, I don't think, what it's like. I didn't understand what it's like. You know, you assume, well, people with cancer are fearing death. You know, if I died in my sleep tonight, I've had a great life. What I fear for myself, and I see my friends in the same situation right now, not the fear, but actually in the midst of suffering. And I fear suffering because I went through 2 years of suffering that was beyond what I could even thought was possible. Physical suffering, and people who never gone through it don't understand, I don't think, because they're always thinking, oh, they're just worried about dying. And the worst thing you could ever say to someone, I think, you know, everybody deals with cancer differently, is to come up to someone who has cancer and you're healthy and you give them a little lecture about how they need to keep their eyes on God and everything. You know, just don't do that. You sound so stupid when you have no idea how the person is suffering. And I have a friend suffering really bad right now, and I can't even, I would never, ever, ever say something like that to her. What you say to someone who's suffering is pretend you're human for just a minute and say, how you doing? And listen to every word that comes out of their mouth, because that's what they need. They don't need lectures. They don't need someone. Religious people sometimes are so bad at trying to tell you how to handle your cancer or telling you you're not doing it right. Just be quiet. You sound so stupid when you do that. Just put an arm around them. Love them. Listen to them. That's what they need. I'm sorry, but I'm doing so well right now. But I have friends who are not. And that's what's hard. Anyway, I better go. Good morning. I'm going to bring you up to date where things are. Cold weather has really hindered my ability to work this week. It's been 12 degrees. But I'm going to explain what I'm going to be doing today. My Civil War era beams are in place in the doorway. I think they look great. I'll be plugging the holes with plugs later today. I need to do some work on the beams as far as making them weather resistant, putting foam behind them, caulking, things like that. But the issue that I've run into is that the beams I had hollowed out, and I wanted to make them flush with the wall because that was about as far as I could go. Because if I hollowed these beams out anymore, the other side would be so thin, it'd be very fragile. So I decided to make them in with these studs. This door that I'm using, it's like I said, it's a 150-year-old door. It's got a blacksmith made hinges. The way it works, the hinges go flush with the door frame. That's different from the way doors are these days. So the intention was to put the hinges here, but then the door would have to seal on this beam, which might work. But the beam is rough. It's got divots in it. I thought about planing it down. But anyway, now that it's here in place, I started thinking about it. I'd like to have a much better surface to put the door on and for the door to shut on, to be tight. And also want to bring the surface out. This wall here will have plywood and probably tar paper, and then a lath, and then it's going to have stucco, lime stucco. So they'll probably be an inch thick. So you could have a wall that's thicker than your beam and, taper the stucco in. But I prefer a look where the beam comes out of the wall, the door frame. And I have a lot of old wood. This was oak in the beam, but this is fir. This fir is almost as old as the oak. It's 100 years old. And I took it into the house where it was warm and carved out some interesting joinery at the top. And there's a header, or really it's more of a lintel, piece of board that's going to go above the door. And those joints fit in here. That was all hand carved in the house. Well, folks, thanks again for coming. I have been working tirelessly almost between the weather, the snow, the cold for the last 3 weeks with the purpose of marrying my Civil War era timbers as a door frame to my 150-year-old French door. Now, if you've ever put up a door, like a exterior door to your house, and that's hard. And those doors are milled to perfection to fit the door jamb that comes with it. But yet you have to use shims, you have to use very precise level measurements, and you run into problems. Not all the time. I'm sure a skilled carpenter doesn't run into trouble like I do. But this was, in some ways, a nightmare because the timbers were very, very rough and not just rough, but had warped. Over 150 years of warped. The door had warped. The hardware on the door, this big, heavy iron, had bent. So it was a lot of work of planing and touching up and planing and doing this and do that. So the doors now, I'm getting ready to open them for the first time. I hope they open. Still, if you see rough spots, there's still some rough spots. I got to touch up some paint. I got to touch up some finish where I planed some things. So here we go. Here's what it looks like from the inside. At the bottom, I'll be fixing some locks because it's got a slide-up lock, and there's one at the top you can't see for the light. Big, heavy pintle that a blacksmith made for me. I had to straighten out this strap hinge because it was all bent, and that was a nightmare. And I was afraid, this old iron from 1800s would break, and it didn't. I'll be trimming off. I had to shim this one. I had to plane some areas. But anyway, here's the door. Let's try it for its maiden opening. There we go. Now I am so happy. I am so happy after 3 weeks to see this work. So this is the look. The sun is going down. We've had snow here. So hopefully there's enough light to show you what I've been after. My first door to the cottage. Some people would look at that and say, that's awful. That's ugly. But to me, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I went to Valencia, Spain a few years ago on a medical meeting where I think I had a presentation there. But Denise went with me, and I had just my iPhone, but I went through town taking pictures of old doors. And just not that long ago, just a few weeks ago, I had to clear up some space on my computer, and I deleted, I think, 150 photos of old doors. So imagine now, this is going to have stone around it, and you'll start to see the look I'm trying to get. Anyway, thanks for coming along for this episode. Next time, I'm going to be stripping these are French doors from France, new or old French doors from France. Next time, I'm going to be stripping some not so old, probably 30, 40-year-old used French doors, American French doors, and get it ready for my son, who is a door maker and stairway maker. He's very good, and I didn't want to bore him with this kind of stuff, but I'll be getting those other doors ready for him. And he will come in and build those doors and then eventually build my staircase. It's a little bit cumbersome to open this door because I don't have the locks on the other side in place yet. So then I'll be stripping these doors here on these horses. And then I'll be putting in windows. That should be a piece of cake, I hope, compared to what I just went through. And then I'll be doing railings across the balcony. And the railings are used, that I found on Facebook, I think for $50, came off somebody's deck. But they're cedar, they're really nice. They just decided they wanted glass railings on their balcony. Anyway, thanks so much for coming. I'm going to try and make these videos shorter, and I've been editing these out, and I need to shut up and say goodbye. I hope you have a wonderful day.